Guess what I received in the mail today? Yes, it's the Chinese SKS from the new shipment to Canada. What's special about it is that it has serial number on the jungle stock. 2 weeks ago, I did a preview of the shipment using pictures provided by the importer. Today, I have one of those rifles from that shipment. Now, the title 2 weeks ago is SKS Smith Jungle Stock is non-military. And I found that to be false. I'll put a link in the description. Please check it out. Now let's see what the importer has to say regarding this shipment. They said MSRP is $559.99. All matching serial, surplus new, / like new condition, limited to 500. This time they don't say a lot compared to what they did, with the French Tickler shipment. In any case, I'll just have to work with that. So when I come back, I'll do a review of this rifle, and then I'll do a comparison to the French Tickler. Now you're saying, why? Why is the French Tickler is quite popular, and they must have brought in more because I see dealers have more brand new ones. So that's the reason why I'm doing the comparison. So I'll be back. I am back. Now let's dispense with the specs first. AOL is 40 inches. LOP is 12.5 inches. Weight is 8.8 pounds, which is 0.3 pounds heavier than the French Tickler. Trigger pull is between 3 and 4 pounds. Okay, done with that. Okay, as you'll notice that it's not heavily coated in cosmoline because they cleaned it up at the factory. And but that still doesn't mean that you don't have to clean. There are some parts that still has lots of cosmoline in it, so you still have to clean it. Okay. It comes with these accessories. It's nice, even though that this is a jungle stock, it still has a trap door for your cleaning kit. And always use a tool when putting it in. Otherwise, you're going to get your fingers all caught in there. Like that. It also has one strip of clip. Has number 31 on it, marking. It has also a oil and or solvent bottle. If someone could translate what that Chinese writing is. Interesting enough, on the other side is a star. Okay. The first thing you do in my review is go right, when you have an SKS, go right to the left side of the receiver. And you will see the factory code is 606, followed by 3 Chinese letters, which stands for 56 carbine, followed by serial number, and this is in the 18 million. Now you might ask me, well, what is factory 606? Well, I'm not really a collector, so I don't know what it is. China has literally 100 different factory codes, so it could be any. If someone out there know anything about factory 606, let chime in. I don't know anything about it. Now, as far as the 18 million serial number, what does that translate to? Well, we're not certain, okay? But you could use the factory 26 dating method. Okay, you can either go to Weebly SKS website or Yoper website. They're only 1 year off. Okay, it's not worth arguing the two difference. Okay, now if you happen to use Yoper, 18 million plus 56 translate to 1974. So this could be made in 1974, and I say heavily could. One never knows for sure. If you use Weebly method, it will translate to made in 1973. Okay. Now, I personally don't really subscribe to that method except for factory 26. And the reason why I say that is because I have seen factory 606 with the 1 million serial number. So does that mean it was made in 1956, 57, 58? No, because I don't believe Factory 606 was even around then. So, if you go according to Weebly, they said if you're in the 1 million, you just move the one digit over. So let's say it's 1.8. You just move it over, so that means 18. Okay, well, maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Okay. But what I generally do when it comes to dating Chinese SKS, I do use that method when it comes to Factory 26. Anything else, I use the method just that I like to use is production. Is it early, is it mid, or late production? That's all I'm interested in. Okay, it means nothing to me if it's made in 78, 79, 73, 72. I don't care. All I want to know is what feature does it have, which is it early production, mid production, or late production? And that doesn't really mean the date that they were made in. Okay, it means when the features was adopted. That's what it means. Okay, now take the French Tickler for instance. The serial number is 23, but it has mid-production features. The Jungle Stock, this one, has serial number 18, but it has late production. So how is that possible? If this is made in 73 or 74, how could it have late production and this one has serial number 23 and it's made in 78 or 79? Well, it's because when the features was adopted. Okay, Factory 26 adopted the mid-production features and it stayed throughout the whole time. It never switched to a late production. Okay, this factory probably started with mid-production then switched to a late production. So when I buy a gun, SKS, I'm more interested in the features rather than what year they were made in. Okay, so when it comes to Chinese, yes, I'll take an early production over a mid-production. I'll take a mid-production over a late production. And as I said before, that with the Chinese, as it moves from early to late, the quality diminishes as we go along. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't work. Yes, of course it works. I mean, it still works. No problem. It's just the quality is not there. And it's pretty obvious. I'd rather have a mill trigger guard than a stamp trigger guard, right? Because it takes more money to make a mill trigger guard. That's the same thing, right? The quality is better with mill compared to a stamp. Stamp is cheaper because remember in the mid-60s, China embarked on a program to make the SKS faster and cheaper because they were providing SKS to the Viet Cong. So that's how I normally date these Chinese SKS. Early, mid, or late. This is late, the French Tickler is mid. Okay, so let's go on. Let's start from the back and work our way to the front. And then after that, I'll strip it down and then I'll start comparing to the French Tickler. Okay, as I mentioned before, has a trap door. The butt plate is slightly different. As you can tell, there's a seam that's run through this Jungle Stock on the top and at the bottom. So they make two halves and then they glue them together. And probably the reason why they switched from a bottom swivel to a U-shape, the two U-shape holds the two pieces added bond. It holds it more together. Okay. You also notice that it's wider back here, it's slimmer back here. The Jungle Stock has a very slim grip, as you can tell. And I already mentioned to you that this is late production, so you would expect a stamp trigger guard, and that is correct. And stamp trigger guard is welded in the back, but it's spot welded in the front. In this particular case, spot welding is not too bad. I can still see one of the spot welding. So in other words, they did sand that down quite nicely. Okay, they did better sanding here. Over here, not so much. Okay, moving along. The metal bluing is not too bad. Not the best I've seen in a Chinese. Matter of fact, when I make a comparison to the French Tickler bluing is better. Now this carrier has no lightning cut. Of course, it's easier to make than putting in a lightning cut. And so that's usually a sign of mid and late production. Now the jungle stock, it's exactly what I remembered when I bought one from the States 25 years ago. This is the one I bought for $25, was part of the early 90s shipment. And back then, you know, we can order gun parts from the United States without any hassle. Today, you know, chances are they won't even let it in. But so that's what it is. I remember it looked exactly like this. Okay. There is a drip, a resin drip right here. You can tell. And there's a little bit of nicks and scratches, but that's to be expected. It's no big deal. I mean, after all, this is, you know, 40, 50-year-old stock. So the sight leaf has no lightning cut on top, has a number 3 on it at the bottom. As I mentioned, there's no barrel lug, so this is a pin barrel, so that's signifying late production features. It also has a jungle stop top handguard, has spiked bayonet, this is what the inside looked like. The gas tube is a 2-piece, also signifying late production. The bluing is not as rich or black. It's starting to, there's a little bit of red in it. Now this is very interesting. This part I find it more interesting than anything else. This is the first time I have seen a casting gas block. This is casting. Okay. They didn't bother to sand this afterwards. So for a casting without sanding it, they did a very good job. And you can tell the edges are not sharp, it's rounded, and the surface, as you can tell, it's very rough. Okay, that's another indication they were trying to make things cheaper without spending more time sanding it in a belt sander. Now this is also a sign of late production. There's no bayonet lug, there's no lightning cut on that side. Now if you remember, importer says this is brand new. One of the things I always look for is to see if the stake has been disturbed, the bayonet stake has been disturbed. Quite often, if this was renewed, if this was issued, and it was been refurbished, chances are they have removed the bayonet. Right, so they can reblue the metal, so they wouldn't remove this, and then when they put it back, they have to restake this. There's no sign that this has been restaked. Okay, and then another sign you look for is the muzzle. As you can tell, this is super shiny. That also indicates it's never been fired before. So yes, this is indeed a unissued rifle. Now, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to take this apart and show you what the inside of a jungle stock looks like. Okay, I disassembled the jungle stock, and let's take a closer look at the jungle stock itself. This is the butt plate, which is slightly different. As you can see, this is the French Tickler, has that extra piece on top. The jungle stock to the right does not have it. And look at the grip, the size of the grip. The French Tickler grip, the wooden grip, is quite a bit thicker than the jungle stock itself. And yet, this is a little bit heavier. I'll also take a look on the inside. Remember when the $25 jungle stock I bought 25 years ago from the States? That was part of the in the early 90s shipment. I had to hand file that to fit my factory 26. This one shows no indication that it's been hand fitted. So when they made this, it fitted in perfectly. You can tell because when I had to file the inside here to make it fit, there was discoloration. There's no discoloration here. There's no marking on the inside. There's some film here that's separating. Like I said, there was a couple of nicks here and there, a little bit of flaking, nothing too serious. Probably the most serious is this resin drip on this side. But and also I want to compare that to my stamp receiver jungle stock. Look at the difference between the two. This is the stamp receiver. This is the new shipment. Remember I said this part is tapered, right? And see this 1/4 inch of dark stripe on top, and there's no tapering here. There's a ledge, right? And there's no dark stripes. The top part here is thicker for reinforcement, but just a 1/4 inch in on the inside is just as thick as this. But you look at this one, this is pretty thin on the upside, on the top. And also the colors are slightly different now in a different light. This is more brown. The stamp receiver jungle stock is more red. But I'm amazed. Look at the difference in the top part. This reinforcements on the ledge. The ledge, it's wider than the jungle stock. However, the jungle stock is heavier than the new shipment. Matter of fact, the jungle stock weighs 1.82 pounds and the new shipment weighs 1.68 pounds. This is lighter and yet it looks beefier. It's just part of the difference that they make. Also, you also notice that they severely reinforced around this cross pin. You can see they put a lot of material around the cross pin. This one they did not put a lot of material. Okay, so what they did with the newer one, they made it wider and gave it a ledge coming inwards. This one is just basically straight up, and that's probably a poor design. This is probably a better design. Don't forget that the stamp receiver was experimental, and we don't know how many of the stamp receiver received the jungle stock, but I have 2 stamp receiver. They both have the same jungle stock. Okay. All right. So, oh, and the big difference between the two is this one has a bottom swivel. Probably not as strong as this one. This one is a U shape. It clamps the two sides together. But both are the same process. Both are made in halves, and then they're glued together. Okay. Okay, now let's carry on. Oh, by the way, there's lots of cosmoline in the cleaning kit, so you need to clean that up. Let's start with the top cover. There's the 5 digits in the back. It's made pretty well. Nothing special about that. Now, here's the stamp trigger guard I was talking about. And the back part here is welded. This guard is welded to the back, to the housing, but the front is 3 spot welds. And even though they filed it, they cleaned it up, I can still see 1 of the spot weld. And this is what I mean by quality control. They didn't bother to, I've seen the late production where they didn't even bother filing that down completely, sanding it down completely, just left a 3 big deep hole. Okay, but here you can also tell that that's not really done well, the welding and the sanding it down. And matter of fact, when I did the review on the French Tickler, that also had bad welding in the back here. You can tell this is stamped because there's a deep impression here. Okay, another indication it's late production is this stamp recoil spring retainer right there. Before that, the early one had milled. There is a lot of cosmoline in here, so you have to clean that out. There's the cosmoline right there. This carrier has no lightning cut. The bolt shows no sign of being used at all. Edges is nice and crisp. There's a hand etch serial number on the extractor, and there's a stamp serial number on the bolt. Now, this is the disappointing part about this rifle is the mag. You can tell it's like a brush finish, like it had to be sanded. I don't know why, because the French Tickler mag didn't have to be sanded. It looks pretty good. This one was sanded, and then on top of that, when they did the pinning to 5, they pinned over one of the digits. Luckily, it was just a 0. Okay. Now, I don't know why they put the pin over here, because on the French Tickler, they put the pin right over here, away from the 5 digits. It's right on that side. But for some reason, I guess it's better to move it back here, because they'll definitely hold a 5 better. And this is how it prevents the follower from going down and holding 5 rounds. In the case of the French Tickler, the stop is right here. Like I said, away from the serial number. So that is one disappointing part. But luckily, this serial number is probably very low. This is in the 1700s. So the first would be a 0. So that pinning was right on top of the 0. Right on top of the 0. So that was a little disappointing. Okay, this top jungle stock handguard looks very similar in make to the French Tickler, same thickness. And as I mentioned, the bluing on the jungle stock is sort of like a reddish rather than deep black. And there's a hand etch serial number here. 2-piece gas tube. There's lots of cosmoline in here, so you need to clean it. Okay. Next thing, let's look. There's one thing good about this. There was no rust. Not like the French Tickler. I had to clean some rust off. But this one had no rust at all. And on this side, the bluing is pretty good. Okay. Inside milling is a little on the rough side. This is what I mean by quality. Not as good. You can even see on here milling marks. They've done away with the lightning cut on the leaf. On the bottom, there's a hand etched serial number. The sight block looks normal. Nothing fancy about that. The bayonet looks normal too. The bayonet lug, no lightning cut. The only thing interesting about this rifle beside the jungle stock is the gas block. This is a cast gas block. Here, let's take a closer look. And they didn't even sand it down, and it still looks pretty good. Very interesting. There's lots of cosmoline in the gas port, so you need to get in there and clean that. Okay, so that's basically it. That wraps up the new shipment to Canada, SKS, Chinese SKS, jungle stock with the serial number. So, thank you for joining me. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Thank you.